Sometimes reality can get too overwhelming. Being present in today's world 24/7 is exhausting, and there are times when you wish you could escape everything for a while. Well, what better way to escape the world around you than to immerse yourself in a fictional world where magic is real and COVID-19 doesn't exist? Today I have for you 5 fantasy/sci-fi books that will transport you far away from reality and will keep you reading until you turn the last page. The first one is Six of Crows by Libert Hugo. It's a fantasy novel that takes place in the city of Rotterdam, a city that is inspired by Amsterdam. Our main character, Cas Brecker, is offered an enormous amount of money, but in order to get it, he has to pull off an impossible heist. He gathers a crew of the deadliest criminals the city has to offer, and then the 6 members of the crew go on this crazy, super deadly adventure. I read this book for the first time in 2016 and absolutely loved it, and I reread it recently and I loved it even more. It's exciting, it's thrilling, it leaves you wanting more with every page read, and the character development that is present in this book is the best one that I've ever seen. You'll be so immersed in this story and these flawed but very lovable characters. The book is part of a duology, the second one being Crooked Kingdom, which I also loved. The next one is A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab, which is the first book in the Shades of Magic trilogy. Our main protagonist, Kel, is one of the last travelers, a magician with the rare ability to travel between parallel universes. The story takes place in London, and there are 4 parallel worlds, or 4 different Londons. There's Grey London, a filthy and boring place where magic doesn't exist, Red London, where magic exists and is highly respected, White London, where people are trying to contain and control magic, but magic has power over them, and Black London, which doesn't exist anymore because of reasons you find out when you read the book. Kel is known as the Red Traveler. He is also an adopted prince of Red London, and he smuggles objects between the worlds. He meets a thief called Delilah Bard in Grey London and is forced to bring her to Red London, and adventure commences there. This book is incredible. It has such a magical atmosphere and such vivid depictions of the world that you will feel as if you're there alongside the characters. I got so attached to these characters and this world that I was oblivious of the world around me all the time while I was reading this book. Then I have Nevernight by Jay Kristoff. Nevernight is the first installment in an epic fantasy trilogy. It takes place in a world where there are 3 suns in the sky which almost never set, hence the title Nevernight. Mia Corvera, the main protagonist, is a 16-year-old girl whose father was executed when she was only 10. Her life's mission is to avenge her father's death, so she goes to a school of assassins called the Red Church as an apprentice in order to train and be able to kill her father's murderers, who also happen to be the highest officials of the Republic. There, she's met with a lot of challenges and betrayals, and if she survives it all, she will be inducted among the chosen assassins of the church, and she will be one step closer to the only thing she desires. One of the coolest things is that she has a shadow cat called Mr. Kindly, who is by her side all the time and gives her advice and sarcastic comments on essentially everything. I devoured this book very quickly, and I enjoyed it much more than I expected to. It's sassy, it has a unique writing style filled with weird metaphors, and it doesn't sugarcoat anything. The next one is Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. Laszlo Strange is a young man who lost his parents to a war when he was a baby. He works as a librarian, and he has been obsessed with the lost city of Weep since he was 5 years old. The lost city of Weep is a magical, mysterious place where no one has been able to set foot for ages. 200 years ago, the city was cut off from the rest of the world, and its real name was erased from the memory of every living soul, and nobody knows what happened. Laszlo has read every book under the sun which talks about the city of Weep, and his biggest wish is to be able to visit it, but he's not bold enough to cross half of the world in search of it. One day, a legion marches into the city, commanded by this fierce warrior called the Godslayer, and Laszlo is presented with an amazing opportunity to work on solving the mystery of Weep. A lot of mysteries await in Weep, along with a blue-skinned goddess who Laszlo has been dreaming about without even knowing she exists. This is such a magical, epic fantasy story filled with beautiful lyrical prose that will sweep you off your feet and transport you into this dreamlike place. It is also a part of a duology, the second book being a Muse of Nightmares, which is as amazing as this one, and I highly recommend that you read both of them. The last one is a sci-fi book. Initially I was going to make this list with fantasy books only, but I couldn't not put this book on the list because I think that it fits perfectly with the theme of escaping reality. It is Skyward by Brandon Sanderson. This book takes place on a planet where the remnants of the human race live, since they have been defeated and driven almost to extinction on planet Earth. The planet they live on now is constantly being attacked by alien starfighters. The main character, Spensa, who is a teenage girl, dreams of becoming a pilot and fighting against the aliens. Her father was a pilot as well, but he died in a battle and was branded a traitor because he tried to flee from the fight. Spence is now forced to live her life being taunted by others and being known as the daughter of a traitor and a coward. However, she's stubborn and proud and won't let anyone stop her from fulfilling her dream. Her hopes of this dream coming true increase when she finds an abandoned and wrecked spaceship, which also happens to have a soul, and she is determined to do everything it takes in order to repair it and learn to pilot it. She also applies for flight school and is faced with a lot of challenges there as well. A lot of things happen in this story, and Spence as a character is fascinating because she's very flawed but progresses a lot as the story goes on. I flew through this book and was on the edge of my seat all the time. Also, I adore the fact that there's no romance in this book, because I think that there are more than enough young adult books these days whose main focus is on romance, and it's refreshing to read a book that has no romance at all. There's also a second book called Starsight, which I read almost immediately after finishing this one, and there will also be a third book coming out sometime next year, and I cannot wait to get my hands on it. I rarely read sci-fi books, but this story is so mesmerizing and complex, and I think that you would enjoy it even if you've never read a sci-fi book. Alright folks, that's all that I have for today. I hope you read these books and I hope you enjoy them as much as I did. Let me know if you would like to see some other book recommendations because I would love to make another video like this one. Stay safe and I'll see you next week.